Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, victory, glorious victory. I know some people are saying, "Oh, it was West Virginia." And, look, Texas Tech needed a W. That's what I said on the last Gridiron Report. That's exactly what they did. They went out and scored on their first 5 possessions, and then were able to hold West Virginia off, in large part due to 4 turnovers that they produced, and they were actually able to get some pressure on the quarterback. So, just overall, though, in terms of needing a W, what it meant to the program, considering all the things that have been going around, the Texas Tech football program, just how big of a victory was this?
Well, I mean, it's huge because you avoided a loss.
Yeah.
Is one way to think of it. If you lose that game, then this was already looking kind of like a season, and then it just goes straight downhill. I mean, you had to have that to avoid crashing and burning.
Yeah.
So you've kind of at least put that on the back burner a little bit. I mean, you've put some pep back into your step. Now you've got an opponent in town in TCU that is a very respectable opponent. They're good. They're not going to lay down for anybody.
That's
now.
for sure.
But it's one where you have a shot at winning. I mean, Vegas has this thing pretty much a toss-up.
Right.
So, I think if Tech had lost at West Virginia, TCU might be favored by a touchdown right now.
Right.
So, the future looks a little bit brighter for the rest of the season. And if you do beat TCU, that's 2 in a row. And then, we'll see what happens,
All right, Joe, I'm of the mind that getting to a bowl game, especially now, considering all the things that this program has gone through this year, if they're able to somehow win 2 of their final 3, I think it would be a huge feather in the cap of Coach Wells, even Kirby Hocutt, the athletic director, and just the whole team. I think it could get them a lot of momentum on the recruiting trail and just going into spring ball. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, because after the Kansas game, everybody thought that this might just be a total disaster.
Right.
And a bowl game, heck, they may not win another game, And so if you wind up getting to a bowl game, basically what that means is that you've rebounded from that abysmal loss in Lawrence pretty strongly, You bounce back. They always say it's not, how hard you fall or whatever, but how you respond after you fall that tells the tale.
That's right.
All right, so, this means if you go to a bowl game that you responded to adversity quite well. And, I think you'd probably go into the offseason feeling pretty good about yourself. I think your recruiting class would be respectable. And I think a lot of people who are sitting on the fence regarding Matt Wells are going to say, okay, well, there may be something here. Let's not just throw him under the bus, because we got plenty of buses around here, if you hadn't heard. So let's not do that. Let's give him some more time. And I think the goodwill towards Matt Wells would sort of rebuild a little bit, and he'd certainly be feeling a little bit better about things himself.
You mentioned TCU. The Horned Frogs come to town. The Red Raiders host them at the Jones, 11 a.m., of course, 11 a.m. kickoff. And they're coming off an emotional loss to Baylor, overtime loss. They weren't necessarily jobbed, at least in my view, like Texas Tech was. But nevertheless, that's probably their biggest rival. Or at least one of them, of course. But then they got to get back up for another in-state opponent in Texas Tech. I mean, obviously the Red Raiders, we've talked about it. It took them probably a couple of weeks to get over the loss to Baylor, just the emotional aspect of it. Do you think possibly you could see the same from TCU, or what do you think?
Yeah, I think that's possible. You would imagine so. I mean, it was an triple overtime loss.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint also of just having played all that extra football.
Yeah, that too.
That takes its toll on a team.
Right.
They could come out a little bit flat. They could come out kind of gassed, maybe not have their legs under them, just feeling kind of rotten. If that's the case, then Tech will roll them. It won't be a very close game. But you certainly don't count on that.
No, and for all the talk about Gary Patterson, I mean, he's a pretty proven coach, needless to say.
Yeah, and he's been through this situation many, many, many times. He knows how to deal with it. So, I'm not counting on that. I'm just assuming that TCU is going to come out with their heads on straight and play a tough ball game, and I think it'll be a close game.
All right, then finally, it came out in Matt Wells' Monday presser. He said basically that it looks like their intent is to redshirt both Bowman and Maverick McIver. Now Maverick can play literally in all 4 games and still redshirt. Bowman can play up in 1 more game and still redshirt. But it looks like Jett's the guy. But that's, you know, obviously they're and rightfully so. I mean, when you say, I mean, he's played pretty well, all things considered this year. But what do you think about that decision and just the repercussions, possible repercussions, all that?
Yeah, that was the right decision. I mean, there were some people that were worried that Jett was going to go back to the bench as soon as Bowman was ready, and I guess Wells didn't automatically put that to rest with his remarks after West Virginia, and some people were a little bit worried about that, and so I always thought that was extremely far-fetched, but now we've got the final word. And it's Jett's show. Basically, as long as he's healthy, he's gonna run it out here, which is good to see because every game he plays, he's gonna get a little bit better. Experience helps, and so that's a good deal. It's gonna be interesting to see if we do get some opportunities to see Mav a little bit. I would hope so, but for that to happen, it's got to be a situation where he can go in. And you're not going to put him in there if the game is on the line, a freshman quarterback in all likelihood. So I don't know if you're going to get the chance where you have like a little breathing room that you can play him. But it would be interesting to see what he's all about, because we certainly hear good things about him, and you've said a lot of good things about him yourself.
Absolutely, Mighty Joe. Man, great stuff from you as always. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.